Hi, I'm Zoe Starr, and welcome to Paranormal Extraction. I'm so glad to have on Katie Turner today, defining what psychic abilities are. Now, a lot of people have negative connotations about this, or they don't really know what it is. But today, she's going to give an explanation on each part of what that is, and then give me a reading. So yeah, I'm a little nervous. But let me tell you a little bit about Katie. She's famous, okay? She did My Paranormal Nightmare, one episode, and Paranormal Survivor, all 4 seasons she was in. Unbelievable. So let's go and see what she has to say today. I'm kind of nervous, and you guys are going to just love this, okay? Love it. All right. Thank you. Katie, oh my God, I am so happy you're on today. I'm also nervous though, but this is going to be so good for so many people to hear about. I just love it. Did you want to say any more about yourself than me pumping you up? About what you do? I mean, I know you've been on television, quite a bit, absolutely. And so you were the psychic on these shows. Is that what it was?
Well, you know what? First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is going
Sure.
to be an absolute blast. I'm so excited that you invited me. It's going to be so much fun. But you know what? Really, I've been psychic my whole life. I grew up on a haunted farm. I started having experiences as a young kid, and as I got older, they got more intense. And fast forward into my adulthood, I started the paranormal team. I wanted to prove to what I was seeing was real and try to capture it on camera. And it was at that point that production companies contacted me and said, we heard that you have a paranormal team, and we'd love you to submit some stories. And so, I'm very kind of cut and dry, and I said I will absolutely submit stories on one condition. And they said, what is that? And I said that absolutely everything that I submit is fact, that nothing has changed or altered or changed to make look good for television. And they agreed. And so I started submitting stories for them, and I was in the interview process, and that's when they discovered that, in fact, I'm a psychic medium,
Oh,
and
wow.
they asked me to be not only a paranormal consultant, but a psychic consultant. So here
Awesome.
I was fit. So that's kind of how it started for me in television.
That that is so awesome because very rare in that industry. They will not allow the person to say, "This is what I want to do," okay, and this is the way it has to be. They rarely do that, okay. Like with me, they didn't do that. Several other people, same thing. So you got whatever production company you're with, you got really, really lucky. And
Mhm.
so it's the real thing. It's not like Zach Bagans. Hello. Okay, so you were in the investigator and also the psychic of all of these shows that you did, and so you were going to talk about what it's like to be a psychic or define it, which I was really loving that because I'm tired of people saying to me, "Oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's too scary," or they're addicted to a psychic. They have to see him every week. And I just love the fact that you're going to tell people what it is.
Well, you know what a lot of people don't understand is that, or are unaware of, is that not all psychics are mediums, but every medium is psychic. So psychic, is a general word that's kind of defines somebody who can do acts of divination on the other side, somebody who can, see into timelines, tap into future, past, present, all of that stuff. And mediumship is the act of being able to communicate or download, speaking to people who have passed away, or animals, or types of energy. And so every psychic is different. Not every psychic is the same. And so I thought it would be a great idea for us to kind of discuss the different types of antennas or the different types of ways that psychics use their abilities to download the information to give it to you. And not
I
only does
love
that
it.
apply in my everyday job, but it also applies in during a paranormal investigation. So I thought that would kind of be something we could chat about.
Well, yeah, I absolutely love it. So let's start. I mean, I think, this is incredible and I love it. And I've never heard anyone talk about this. This is the first time. Okay. And so, what would you like to start with?
I think what would be really cool is breaking down the different antennas as to which way people download information. So, when people go to a psychic fair, they contact a psychic. A lot of times they're looking for answers for something, whether it
Yes,
be something unanswered or connecting to a loved one that's passed away.
sure.
But what they don't realize is that different psychics use different abilities to be able to receive that information to pass the message along. And so there's different antennas that psychics use. Not every psychic does it the same way. Not every psychic can see the same way. But there's kind of a generalism. So I have 5 antennas that I utilize when I do reads. I'm
Okay.
clairaudient, which means the act of hearing. I'm clairsentient, which means it's the act of smelling. I'm clairvoyant, which is the act of seeing. Clairconscient is the act of knowing. And empathic means I pick up on psychic abilities or emotional abilities, physical abilities. So, for example, with you, if I could read you for a second,
Oh,
in the green room,
great. Yeah. Okay, so
we
what
talked about.
okay, wait a second.
Oh,
Let me back up a little bit. Okay.
yeah.
So what are okay, so you just described kind of like what you are, right? So what antenna are we talking about right now before you tell me what you need to tell me? What antenna?
Okay. So on an empathic level, which means that I'm picking up on emotions and I'm picking up on feelings, and sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's metaphoric. I would say to you, we had talked in the green room about bones, and what you and I had talked about previously, and how I figured that you needed to get your bones looked at. That was because I could physically feel it. I also know that you have a guarded heart because of the heartbreak that you had years before. So I can not only physically feel that there's problems in hearts, but it's not a physical thing in the sense that it's emotional, but I can feel the physical pain in the bones.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting because, I always talk to everyone before you come on, anyone, very different than your canned show with questions. And you had told me, about my bone density. And quite strangely, I was in a situation where I was at the dentist's office, a whole new dentist. I'm not going to get into it. And she said that for the first time I've ever heard that I had bone loss. And so I asked her, I said, look, does that have anything to do with bone density? And she said, yes, but there could be other factors. So immediately I made my call to the doctor because I want a bone density test. So you were right on that one. Wow. That
Yeah, it's quite interesting how we receive. So maybe what I'll do is I'll start to talk about how I receive as a psychic the different levels of information. So I explained to people that psychic ability is like a radio wave. So say you're driving in your car, you have the radio station on.
right.
You're not going to hear that radio unless you have your radio turned on and dialed into the correct station. So a psychic has to heighten their vibration in order to receive that radio wave, we'll call it our energy source, to be able to receive the information to play it as a conduit.
Okay.
So in the sense with you on that empathic level, I could physically feel the pain. I could feel the problem. With dealing with the act of clairsentient, that means that in times I would pick up on smell. So, walking into a haunted location, I may pick up, the smell of wood smoke, or I may pick up the smell of perhaps rotting decay. Sometimes you're getting psychic senses of roses, or, a person's, engine oil, stuff like that. But it's an antenna that is psychically given to me that I do the download, and I am able to kind of project what I'm seeing and feeling. Going on to you, immediately when I see you and the producers of the show, I immediately got problems with I can smell cigarette smoke, and so to me that tells me now I will give you a little bit of information. I had COVID a few years ago, and I was very severely ill with COVID. I almost died. And I lost my sense of taste and smell, and it never came back properly. So to this day, I know that when I'm receiving a smell and it's dead on as it used to be, it's actually a psychic smell. It's not a physical one,
Wow.
because I can't smell cigarette smoke.
Oh,
So I can tell now, going through, I was given the download, I can smell cigarette smoke. So I know that you and production smoke.
Did you hear that over there, production?
Yeah.
Did you
So
hear?
that's how I receive information. Now,
She said we
getting
smoke.
into
Production company smokes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's over there. He's got a cigarette right now, Katie.
I can smell it.
Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, and wow.
Let's go into some full disclosure here. I'm Canadian. I live way up in the good old north. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and you are down in the States. So there's no physical possible way that I could physically smell that. That's how I receive the downloads. That's how I receive things.
That's absolutely bizarre because, you know, I mean, I'm not freaking out or anything. It's just that he's over there smoking a cigarette. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So you get these smells, even though from the COVID, you can't really smell, but this comes in real strong through your psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else on that?
Well, I would encourage him to quit smoking. There is lung damage. So, you know, there's one lung that's affected more than the other. And I don't want to get too personal because this is a public network, you know,
Sure.
very big show. So I will stay personal, but there are some things that he needs to, you know, I would encourage him to quit smoking if he could.
Yeah. Good luck. Well, you know, okay. But I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Okay. So, what is next on our list?
So, well, I'll back it up a little bit. When I was little,
Yeah.
One of the very first abilities that I had was claircognizance. And claircognizance is the act of knowing. I don't know how I know. I just know. I can't tell you how the information comes. I know that it just comes into my brain, and I just know the answer. And when I was a child, I used to say to my mother, I don't know how I know, I just know. My mother would ask me a question, or I would be able to predict future events. And I just knew. It was an intuitive feeling. It was, and there's things called intuitive psychics, and it would just intuitively come to me that I just knew the answer. I use that a lot when I'm going into a haunted location, especially, you know, when I'm doing paranormal investigations. You know, even though I am the founder and head investigator, I have different members of my team do different parts of the job so that I can go into the location blind. I don't want to know anything. So, you know, I will get the phone call and I will allocate, you know, different jobs to different members of the team.
Sure.
So for example, my historian is the one that will know the history of the building. So, you know, when the call comes in, I kind of send it on the path that it's supposed to go, and I will go to the location when we get there to investigate as blind as possible.
Right, so right. So you know nothing, excuse me, you know nothing about the location or anything. Okay, that's right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go to the location, and it's at that point that I will use these different abilities. And to bring claircognizance to the front, you know, I'll walk into a place, and if I'm getting a gut feeling, and I just know that this is not, you know, I'm being told, don't go there, don't do it, don't go.
Wow.
I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm supposed to stop.
Wow.
And you know, everybody kind of has that ability. Everybody has that gut feeling, but few listen to it. And so that, my friends, is called claircognizance. It's actually a real thing. That gut feeling of just intuitively, you know, don't go there, or this is okay, or, you know, this person is good, or this person is bad. And so I use that a lot every day.
Yeah, I have that too. I know what you're talking about. So, and no, I follow it. I know to follow that answer that I'm getting or feeling I'm getting. That feeling would be a different one, like you said, that's more empathic. But yeah, uh, let's just say you have to go to a location and they're doing a TV episode and you don't want to go. You just tell them, no, I'm not going there.
Well, what I would do is a lot of the television that I did was kind of sitting back behind the scenes. I was in front of the camera, but it was after the fact. So a lot of these scenarios that took place were investigations that had prior, took place before prior, and we were talking and discussing the situation that happened
Okay.
and what to do,
Sure.
in the future, or what kind of ensued at that time. But going on to a location, yes, absolutely. If we're going on set to film and we're at a specific haunted location, I have no qualms about saying, no, I'm not comfortable, or we need to get out, we need to stop. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. And okay, so with me, with that ability, what would you have to say? Because that's an interesting one. Would you say, I don't want to be around you?
You know what? I think that you are very wise. So the intuitive feeling that I get with you is that you, within about 7 seconds, you can read a person. So 7 seconds,
Sure.
you're really good at analyzing people's energy. So the intuitive feeling that I got was you were, and again, I don't want to get this is
No, it's okay. You
were in
can.
okay, you were in a situation that was extremely dangerous, and you were able, your intuition pulled you back out. And had you not have left that situation, I won't get into specifics, but I could see you having to leave that situation. You actually would have not been living right now. And so you, ever since that time, I feel like you kind of paid attention to that. You became conscious of it, and now you use that every day because of that high stress situation.
Yeah. Yes. I would have to agree with you on that. Yep, it is on the forefront of making a lot of changes in my life because of that. Let's
One
just say, PTSD event. Okay.
Yes. Agreed.
So yeah, there are changes being made right now. So you're right again.
It's something that I really encourage everybody to pay attention to and listen to their gut, especially if you're going to get a psychic reading. Okay, there's a couple things that I tell people, and we'll stick to the claircognizance right now. But I tell people, no matter who you go to, no matter how reputable or well recognized the psychic is that you want to go to, or say a haunted location, always listen to your gut. If you decide to come to me and something tells you to stop, then you pay attention to it. If something tells you not to go into a certain building, or hang out with a certain person, or not to get into that car, it's so important that you pay attention to that. I think that there would be a lot more people in today's society alive if they had listened to their gut instinct. Part of my job is I'm a full-time psychic by day and an investigator by night. So I read every day. I do readings every day. And if I had a nickel for every time an entity came to me during a session and said, if I had only paid attention to my gut instinct, if I had only listened, if I had only not gotten into that car or got on that motorcycle, or, didn't pick up that gun, or whatever the circumstance was, it's because they didn't pay attention to their gut.
Well, yeah, and also what I do, okay, and I know this is kind of off a little bit, but if I've gone to, let's just say I go in to have a reading, um, I don't tell them everything. I listen because a lot of them can get a lot of information already prior to giving you a reading. So that's how I know, for me, if they're real or if they're not, is I keep my mouth shut. So if they do say something, I'll answer the question, okay? But I'm not going to go on and on and on. And I have found that that has really helped because there's been in situations where I'm like, okay, well, they already knew that about me because I told them that, so that's what I do.
agreed. It's really good. I do readings all over the world. I have the pleasure of doing it online. I do meet people in person if they're local. But what I tell people when I book sessions is that I only want first name. I would like a last initial. I want a phone number. Um, there's different methods that we can use to do the video reading. And what I encourage them, I'll ask them, look at my social media, go onto my website, stalk me, have a look at my references, but please do not send me friend requests, messages, nothing. I want to know nothing about you until 5 minutes before the session.
Right.
5 minutes before the session, you're welcome to message me and say, hi, it's Joe, I'm ready to go. And at that point, I will come on and kind of start the reading. People don't realize that it actually makes things more difficult the more you know about the person. So for me, going into, it's not necessarily about proving my value or proving that I'm, psychic. It's kind of going in without any bias or any personal feelings towards something. I have my personal opinions, but I also have my psychic opinion. And so sometimes you're in an argument with yourself because on a personal level, you want them to be finished with that guy. He's not worthy. But on a psychic level, they're saying, no, he's still the one. And so I have to remember that it's not my personal opinion they're asking for. It's my psychic ability. And so it comes down to the less you know, the better it is of a lack of bias that you can actually give the read properly.
Well, yeah, and that's what I love about you is, is that you said that, and I was just like, this is a way for me, and all the readings I've had, and I had my own metaphysical store and all that stuff. Okay, that is the only way after having so many readings to do it, and you do it that way. Mm-hmm. And to get an appointment with you is like forever.
Well, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful that people want to see me. Honestly, I thank the higher power for that. It is difficult to get in, but I do have reschedules, right? Because I book so far in advance, there's always an opening. So, there's always somebody that has to reschedule because they booked 6 months before. And so, it does happen. People do get in, but it's just kind of the right time, the right place.
Right.
And I always encourage, too, something that I really, kind of emphasize when I do readings is that I don't want it to be about money. For me, I don't like taking payment until after the session. I want to prove myself in terms of giving you what you need out of the session. And I always tell people that if you're not happy with it, I'm not going to charge you. And I only want payment if you think I'm worthy of it. So I want it to be about the session and not about the money. For me, it's getting that message across. I did not grow up wanting to be a psychic. I did not have plans, to be a fortune teller. I grew up, as I said, on a haunted farm, and so horses are a big part of my life. And so I was training horses, and I actually had a career in real estate. I was running a real estate office for quite some time. And it was at that point people found out what I could do and were coming into my office every day asking me for readings. And I ended up having to quit my job.
Oh my God.
I tell people, here I sit now. And so it's really about helping people because I feel like the universe really pushed me in this direction and said, this is what we want you to do. We don't want you to be doing this. We're going to make your life a lot harder until you do as we ask you to do and do our bidding. And so here I sit. And so I leave it to the universe to know whether I'm worthy or not.
Okay, and that's what I loved about you, okay? Because first of all, like if we're talking about payment, I've never been to someone who doesn't take payment first, okay? Like what you're saying and kind of what I do on, a different level is I do a sliding scale, because there's a lot of people that can't, do, a certain amount of money. So yeah, I love that part of what you do. I mean, that's just, it's, it's unheard of. For me, it is anyways. Yeah. So, I mean, you're genuine, you're genuine and you want to help people. And, it's so beautiful to see because, a lot of them that I know, weren't after I found out. Okay. Like the 24-hour psychic hotline. What a joke. Okay. I mean, and we could just keep going on from there, but I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that because, it was bad. You don't do bad things and then give people information, you know.
Right.
So, and you're not like that whatsoever. So I love that about what you're saying about that part of the reading as well. So, um, okay, so let's move on from there, which would be what?
Clairvoyance. My
Oh,
favorite ability, clairvoyance. So
oh,
clairvoyance is the act of seeing. So again, a lot of people don't realize that your third eye or your psychic eye is different from your physical eye. When I have clairvoyance, I have the act of seeing, which means that I receive pictures, videos, symbolism when I'm in a haunted location or when I'm reading somebody. And there's two different variants of the vision that you're receiving. You could be receiving on a physical level. So for example, a red balloon. You could be visually seeing a red balloon and the entity or the energy is trying to present that this person had a red balloon or there's a red balloon in the room.
yeah,
Or it can insinuate the color red. So there's kind of various ways of receiving that download. But then to go even further, there's the act of seeing with your third eye and also physically seeing an apparition or seeing a psychic embodiment. And so, again, it really kind of comes down to how you can download the information, how you can see the image.
right. So basically, you kind of get it in your mind and you see it in your mind first, okay,
Right.
before this happens, or whatever is there, or whatever doesn't want to be there, it's there.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So, for
So,
example, to physically see, I'll give you an example that I was able to witness with you.
oh,
You were recently at a location where there were stone graves. I was shown an image of you walking around a building with stone graves.
right.
And it was like rocks or stone graves is what I was shown. And I was given that almost as a video or like a quick image. I only saw a very quick glimpse of you walking around a building.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the color of the building was. It was in color, but it was like a dark brown. But I couldn't
Uh-huh.
tell you a specific color that I saw. Another image I was given was I was shown a little dog with there's the video that the image that I was shown was a little dog and it's got a running eye, and there's going to be an eye infection coming or issues with eye damage that's occurring for you. But those were images that I was given. Do
Okay.
those things make sense to you?
Yeah, especially, well, my baby Maltipoo, okay, that this is her last lifetime. She's like a person. She does have one eye that um, is got a cataract, and it's freaking me out. However, in the veterinarian industry, I'll give you an idea. It's normal for a hip to break on these types of dogs or whatever. That was $5,000 for that surgery. So to have a cataract fixed, I can't imagine what it is. So, I'm kind of freaking out because, I can tell she doesn't see as well. And she's like everything in my life. She's everything. We have another one that is like a demon dog. And then I have my angel, and she's my angel. So I've been really scared to ask how much that surgery would be for the cataract. But that's the only thing that's really going on with her eyes. She does have the runny eyes, okay, because she's a Maltipoo. They get the black stuff out, which I clean every night. I clean it off. So that's the only thing I know of right now that is wrong with her eye, and it's,
So full disclosure, I didn't even know you had dogs, right? So
yeah,
it's funny how the image comes in, but just for the audience so they understand, I've never seen your dogs. I didn't know you had dogs, and
No, you
The
did not.
image, I
No,
couldn't tell you what breed. I could only tell you it was small. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what breed.
she's very small and she's under 10 pounds.
Mm.
Okay, so now that you're saying that, I'm going to go into the vet and ask them about this cataract thing because it's just killing me that she's just not as, she follows the other dog more. She'll see the other dog running and then she'll run to go get the squirrel,
Right.
where before she was never like that. And so I'll have to look into that.
Right. Right. And the image of you walking around with the stone graves, do you understand that? Of all the things in the world, why would I be seeing that?
Well, we did the stone graves thing, but I I didn't I didn't like it at all, because the graves were desecrated and they really needed to come in and redo the cemetery or fix it up or have somebody come in. And unfortunately, it really upset me that a lot of paranormal investigators go in to these graveyards. Oh, that was on Travel Channel. Sorry. Here's another one. I was on Travel Channel in the graveyard. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So
Yes.
that's starting to make sense. This is good.
Yes. It was a full part in the graveyard. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these certain things. Now, a lot of times when I pick up on energy, you'll notice the things that I've picked up on are things that are in your present consciousness and that bother you. Okay, so your
Yes.
dog is bothering you. That's a thick energy. Your obviously the fact that you didn't like this with going into that stone grave, it kind of came on to you, and it's a thicker energy because it's bothering you. The other things that we discussed. Really, what happens is what I explain to people is that think of the last time you laughed so hard that you cried. Now think about the last time that you were so angry you were spitting mad. A lot of times we remember the anger, it's a lower vibration, but we remember that anger and we harbor that anger a lot longer than we do the laughing till we cry. That's how the energy still stays present to you when I'm doing the reading. So I encourage everybody, forgiveness is the key. As hard as it is, going into that, the graveyard and all of that stuff, it's really hard or difficult to forgive, but there's a lot of scenarios in life that you still hold that, not necessarily you personally, but an individual harbors and holds, and they don't allow the process of letting go, accepting, and kind of forgiving it. And when the forgiveness occurs, that is when the energy is kind of diminished or let go.
Mm-hmm.
And it is at that point that different situations of energy will come into you. So I'll give you an example. When a client comes to me and says, I'm really frustrated. My husband died 10 years ago, and I haven't heard from him. I don't understand it. But the wife has spent 10 years in mourning, and she cannot get over this gentleman's death. Because she is so upset about it, it actually puts a wall up. And even though the consciousness is there that you can pick up the man has passed away, it puts a wall up and he cannot come through because she's so in that present consciousness of mourning that she's not allowing the forgiveness to dissipate that energy and hurt and allow that man to come in. So I encourage everybody to try and forgive, as difficult as that can be, because that's allowing the energy to dissipate from you, and it's allowing the person that you're forgiving or the situation you're forgiving to elevate and change.
I agree with you 100%. However, I have a hard time with the word forgiving and also love. When I was working with my shaman, True from the Res, one day when we had just kind of started and this and that, and we'd been together for quite a while, and I said, love you, see you later. And he looked at me and he said, Zoe, be careful when you say I love you. That's a strong word. And I'll never forget that. So now I say I care about you. And because everybody uses love like, oh, I love you, see you tomorrow, or whatever. With forgiveness, it's the same thing. It's canned for me. It's a canned thing. So for me, I have a way of doing that on without using the word forgiveness.
Right.
Because it irritates me. Excuse me. Everybody wants to say, forgive, 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 forgive. I love you. I love you. I love you. And it's like, so I've learned how in my own process, because of that word, and I know a lot of people are turned off by it, to do that on a different spiritual level, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So the way that I break it down for people is think of an open wound. Think about going to the hospital and getting it bandaged up. Now think
Yeah,
through time. You have to, you have to dress the wound, you have to clean the wound, but the wound eventually heals. And through that evolution of healing, that wound becomes a scar. You never forget how it happened, why it happened, when it happened, or where it happened, but it's not an open wound anymore. And that's the way I like people to present things, is that it's not forgotten. You realize that it happened, you're accepting of it happened, but it doesn't hurt the same as when that open wound occurred. And so really it's not even about forgiving the other person, it's allowing the forgiveness to flow through you in order to allow the energy to come through. You don't have to forgive a person per se, but forgiving the situation and releasing it from yourself is kind of the key to allow the energy to go through.
exactly. I agree with that 100%. Right. You're right on with that. Yeah, I love it. I love what you just said. That's what I think. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So
So the next antenna that I utilize is called clairaudience. And
that's what you
clairaudience
hear. I
it's the
have
active,
that.
yes, it's the active hearing. So let me ask you, Zoe, what do you hear when you say that you have
Oh
clairaudience?
my
Because
God.
everybody is different. So what is it that you hear?
Oh my God. Well, in any location I go in, I can hear, okay, what's going on or where this is coming from or anything like that. When Vic passed, my shaman that was on, paranormal with me, um, he spoke to me for 6 months and talked to me about a lot of things that were out of this world that very few people would believe. And, I could clearly hear him. And then the event would happen. Same thing when I go in, but it's more empathic. But I can hear, like, let's just say sorrow or crying or, someone that's drunk or and they're acting really strange, things like that. Things like that is what I hear. But I mainly hear it from an angelic realm. I call it the Lady of Gold. So I'm taken when I do my OBEs and my out of body experiences or my astral travel. I get a lot of information by going into there and then coming down and knowing what the clairaudient was and being able to describe it. So that it's kind of odd for me. That's a very odd.
It's different, absolutely. And this just proves that everybody receives information differently. So I receive information very similar. I hear it. So, whether it be hearing a phone ring or hearing somebody speaking or getting a ringing in my ears. So it's
Yeah.
different from a phone ring to a ringing in my ears, depending on the atmosphere that I'm in or the situation. If I'm being warned about something, my guides want to warn me, I'll often get a ring in my left ear. So or my right ear, and I pay attention. Say I'm driving down the road and I know to slow down or something's coming up. But I also pick up on residual energy. So walking into a location,
Oh
on a
God, I
certain
hate
scenario,
that. I hate
yeah,
that shit.
walk into, hearing, if it's an old bar, you hear people
Yeah.
laughing and joking like it's, an old bar scene, or music playing, or crackling of a fire when something has been, burnt down. So it kind of comes in different levels. Now, again, there's physically hearing it, and then there's psychically hearing it. So a lot of times when we're doing EVP sessions, electronic voice phenomena, I will hear it and I'll say, did you guys hear that? And they're going, no, we didn't hear it. And it's not until the replay that they've picked it up on audio or video, but they can't physically hear it. And then sometimes it's to a point where it is so clear that it's a class A and you hear it without any devices. Everybody's witness to it. They can hear it now.
Yeah, and for us, we don't use any equipment. I'm just really adamant about not doing that, and that's because of my radio show and some, we did science around it and all that that I did. But the only thing we use is a compass and dowsing rods, and then video or pictures or stuff like that. So I have my own thoughts on that whole EVP thing, but I know that you really know your shit. So, I'm more open to hear what you have to say, which is what you need to be, right? I need to be more open. I can't just be closed off and go, no, you're not right. So it makes my mind expand.
Yeah. Well, I've been investigating for 21 years now.
Oh my God.
I started in college.
Oh my God.
And throughout the years, there were times where, exactly that, no way this would happen, or no way I would believe that, or I had to believe to see it, or I had to, and through my experiences, I've narrowed it down. There's a lot of pieces of paranormal equipment that I probably would tend to stay away from, but then there's some pieces of audio equipment that are my go-to. I reverse engineered a portal box. A lot of people will use SB7s and stuff like that, but I've taken a kind of a step further and tried to make Faraday cages to try to block out any of that potential background noise or things that could be pareidolia, where you're thinking, that something's occurring and it's not.
Right.
So I really try and up it that way, but I also am really careful about the questions that I ask when I'm doing certain investigations. And it's one thing walking in and getting a psychic premonition, but when I start an investigation, I will kind of shut that part of the brain off and try and go in as a paranormal investigator. So I never forget what I had picked up at that time, a few minutes before when I'm reading it. But going in and using the equipment, I really try to ask intelligent questions to get intelligent responses.
Exactly.
So there's no way
there you go.
It's just kind of a replay, and I know I'm communicating with things. So I will test the energy, and see if I can get it. Some of the best investigations we've ever had some clear, crisp EVPs come through.
Wow.
Of certain, whether it be animals or people or objects falling, but we were able to hear them.
Wow. I believe you because you're the only one I believe.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so is there any other thing that you're into or that you want to talk about from that perspective that we just talked about? Do you want to continue on with that or move on to a different subject?
Well, you know what? I think that if I could encourage anybody that's wanting to bring up their abilities, to do more psychic impressions and acts of divination, that it's not a matter of if you're going to pick up something negative, it's a matter of when. And a lot of people have fear when they're doing divination, and I don't want people to be afraid, but I encourage people to really make sure that they are safe and protected. I don't encourage it to be done alone. I really say, make sure that you have a buddy system or somebody that really knows you, because on a cerebral level, when you're dealing with something malevolent, it doesn't jump out, contrary to what television tells you. It doesn't jump out at you and says, boo, I'm here. It kind of slowly encroaches and starts to cause havoc in your life. So,
like IOP, infestation, oppression, and full-on possession. Oh, yeah. I know all about that. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Especially with the protection.
Yes,
I mean, and I always say some type of spiritual protection. I don't care what it is for you, but just your prayer, whatever, before you do this, because those things can come through and then become attachments. Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes it can take months, sometimes it can take days, sometimes it can take hours. But behind me, I have a lot of salt lamps. I have a lot of crystals.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
And they're there for a reason. I've got crystals everywhere. I deal with it everywhere. I've got holy water. I deal with Wiccan things. I deal with paganism. I got pagan holy water. Like I deal with a lot of different depending on the situation,
Oh,
I
yeah.
deal with a lot of protection because,
Yeah.
you know, as an equestrian, I tell people it's not a matter if you're going to fall off the horse, it's a matter of when, and you better be
Right.
prepared for it to happen. And, you know, even seasoned investigators such as yourself and myself, we still get this stuff. Even doing your due diligence, you're still picking up this stuff. So I encourage people, if they're wanting to work on their abilities, please do it cautiously, and don't, you know, jump into something that you've seen on television. Really find a good mentor, somebody who knows their stuff and knows how to protect you and themselves, and that's when you want to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So I think that's pretty much everything we've talked about, right? About
Yeah,
what a psychic
all the different things.
is.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty fabulous stuff. I really think that now people are going to kind of, get more of an understanding of it, and even start, if they're interested, okay, start to develop their own, you know.
Absolutely. I think
Um,
everybody has the ability.
yeah, we all do. It's just that we're not, developed, okay, in that area of the brain that's been closed off. But for some special people, it's not like you, okay, where you just like, you were this open thing when you were a child. Oh my God, I can't imagine what you went through. And so, yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. And having a mentor is very important. However, I have found it's very hard for me to find a mentor. I mean, once you have a shaman from the res, uh, who's next? I
Right?
don't know, a monk.
I hear you.
So that's why I do interviews now, because I will only do it with somebody that is like that. I won't just do it with anyone. No way. So, I don't do that really a whole lot anymore. Not a whole lot, because I don't have him next to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just love everything you've said today. Is there, where can people find you? Like, where do they go if they want to have a reading with you, or because that's what you specifically do right now. So let's talk about that. Where do they go to find you?
Well, you know, I have a website. It's katieturnerpsychic.com, and
Okay.
I'm on social media, so I'm, you know, through Instagram and Facebook, uh, and you know, all of them basically. Facebook is the easiest to get a hold of me. You can send me a message, Katie Turner's Sensitive Psychic Medium. But for me, you know, if you send me a message, I do have an automated message that comes up that says call me. I try not to know anything about anybody. I would rather you call me and keep it as ambiguous as possible. And you know what? I also do a podcast. I do a podcast. I'm a co-host with my good friend Richard Ruland, who is another very well seasoned paranormal investigator and psychic medium. And every Sunday night, we do a live interactive 90-minute podcast, video podcast, where people can come on and ask questions, and we have different topics, and we try to teach, you know, certain practices and explain what we know. And if we don't know something, we try to do the research and find out to give it to you. So if you go on Facebook, it's called Let's Talk About It, and you can check that out. We multicast on different networks, and so that's where you can find me.
Okay, so we're going to put that at the bottom, so people will, they'll be able to get the information on, about what this is, and then at the bottom. Then everyone, you guys know that you can contact me if you forget or you don't know, okay, through Facebook Messenger is the best. TikTok, people do it there a lot. Instagram, so but like I'm like you, the biggest for me is the Facebook. So or even, paranormal extraction on YouTube. But that's mostly commenting, not asking questions. It's funny when someone asks a question and they're a nutcase, though. You gotta love those, huh, Katie?
Yeah. Yes, I get my fair share.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
again, I see dead people for a living, so what can I say?
yeah. I know, I know. So anyways, I just want to, you guys, she's just absolutely wonderful. I think you all know that by listening to this today. And I want everybody just to say thank you so much for watching, and really check out Katie Turner if you're interested in this kind of stuff. And at least, if anything, you can listen to her podcast. That's extraordinary, and ask questions there. So I just want to say thank you so much, unless there's anything you want to close with.
Oh my goodness.
And
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here.
yeah, well, I appreciate it. And we have you coming on again.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can't remember where that is. But of course, we'll do your ad, and everyone will know when you're coming on. So I'm sure everyone's going to be excited about that. And I'm not really sure what the topic is yet, but we'll figure that out. So everyone out there, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Katie. Thank you so much. And hey, get a hold of me, get a hold of Katie. Really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.